Hello and welcome to Dawn News Special with IMF Managing Director Chiristine Lagards, who's been on a whirlwind tour of Pakistan the past couple of days, talking about a moment of opportunity that the country faces with much work left to do. Today we sit down with an exclusive one-on-one with the Managing Director. Chiristine, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
Thank you very much, Khurram.
Let's start with this. This is not the first IMF program that Pakistan is going through or has, in fact, even completed. Pakistan has spent more time on IMF programs than outside of them since 1988. What makes this one different?
I think what is different about this program is that it was owned by the Pakistani authorities and it was endorsed by an electoral vote that took place back in 2014. So it was not so much regarded as an IMF prescription, but rather a set of proposals that the authorities wanted to implement in Pakistan in order to strengthen the economy. Don't forget that at the time, the economy of Pakistan was in crisis and had to be cured, and measures had to be taken. So I think that that's a big difference, added to which, if you rightly say that some programs were completed, there were many more programs that were never completed than programs that were completed over the course of a long-standing history of relationship between Pakistan and the IMF.
Over the course of your visit here in Pakistan and your various engagements and public speakings, you've referred to the moment that Pakistan is standing at as a moment of opportunity. Yet we've seen many other moments of opportunity and moments of peril in our past as well here in Pakistan, like every other country has.
Yeah.
Are the improvements that you are talking about, are they on a sustainable footing at this point in time?
As I said, back 3 years ago, when the program started, the economy was in crisis. And the first thing you do is establish macroeconomic stability. Make sure that you have the situation under control. And then you can start the long-standing reforms that will structure the economy for the long term. So what this program has brought about is that level of stability and that trend of keeping public finance under good control, focusing spending on where it is most needed, increasing the social safety net, making sure that the poorest are actually taken care of, and eliminating the subsidies that are not needed by those who have air conditioning, 3 cars, and so on and so forth. Raising revenue so that the tax base can be broadened and more revenues can be brought into the net in order to be spent appropriately. That's what has happened, added to which the power outages that were prevalent in the past have significantly been reduced and hopefully will continue to be reduced through a reform of the energy sector that is yet to come.
But macroeconomic stabilization was only one element of the program. There was another element of the program which involved structural reform, which involved restructuring the economy, bringing about the kinds of changes that have in the past necessitated Pakistan having to go back to the IMF again and again. How much progress has been made, in your opinion, on the structural reforms and the structural side of the economy, beyond just the macroeconomic indicators?
Macroeconomic stability is, as I said, the foundation on which you build. There has been some progress. If you look at the energy sector, for instance, and the way in which areas that were really crippling the system have been reduced, the way in which services are being provided at a much regular rate with fewer outages during the day. This is significant improvement. But it is not over, and it has to be continued. And as I said, the energy sector is one where there has to be in-depth, strong reforms so that services can be provided, distribution can be facilitated, and a regular service can be obtained by consumers, both in the industrial sector, because that's where growth will come, and for households as well.
Pakistan has been known as a prolonged user of IMF resources. To use the IMF's own language, Has that trend now been broken, do you think? How much has this program done to ensure that 2-3 years down the road, Pakistan is not going to be back at the doorstep of the IMF?
What I can tell you for sure is that the Pakistani authorities have not asked for yet another program, and they feel confident that by continuing to improve the economy, continuing to conduct the reforms that they have begun, will be enough and sufficient to keep the economy going in good stead. Their focus on growth, on resilience, on inclusive growth, we believe are critical agenda items that they can pursue, and if they do deliver on those, there's no reason why the IMF should be providing financing yet again. Doesn't mean to say that we are no longer in partnership, because like with the 188 other members of the IMF, we provide policy advice, we provide technical assistance when it's needed, we provide training for civil servants and high officials where it's needed in public finance, in debt management, in bank supervisions. And we are, of course, available to Pakistan if the Pakistani authorities need us.
There's been a revival of growth under this government. How inclusive has that growth really been, and what do you say about the quality of that growth?
Growth is picking up. There's no question about that. And we have revised upward our forecast for next year to 5%. And we hope that it's a trend that will continue. Because when you have more growth, it's much easier to redistribute, reallocate, focus spending, collect more revenues, reduce debt. Everything is better with growth, no question. If you look at the number of people that are included in the social safety net, the fact that 1.5 million more people are benefiting from those benefits of the social safety net, that is an improvement. But I would like to say one thing, which I care personally strongly about, which is also an economic game changer, and that is the inclusion of Pakistani women. Only 25% of them are in the workforce. They do not have equal access to financing, equal access to job, equal access to education. And more needs to be done to facilitate their access to the job market, to financing, to education of young girls. This is a moral obligation. This is a human right. But as far as we are concerned, as IMF, it's an economic game changer. It can boost growth. It can improve the size and the inclusiveness of the economy, and it will make it much more sustainable. So that's, I hope, a direction that the authorities will take. What the state of Pakistan, including provinces which are responsible for it, spends on education is 2.5% of GDP, and that is clearly not enough. It needs to be at least double that. Okay? On both accounts, on health, it should be more, on education, it should be more. And those responsible for the spending, provinces in particular for education, except tertiary education, should really be spending more than that and should effectively deliver.
Pakistan's putting a lot of vent in the China-Pakistan economic corridor, and infrastructure spending under that, on the projects under that, are supposed to underlie and fuel growth in the years to come. How are you seeing the impact of the corridor, and especially in terms of the outflows that may also be connected with this once the projects are up and running?
You know, any infrastructure development is going to be beneficial for the short and for the long term. For the short term, because you build roads, you operate, maintain, develop ports, you set up railroads, you need people to do that. It's not going to happen without people being employed, doing the jobs, conducting the trucks and opening those roads and digging these ports. So it's good for the short term, but it's also going to improve productivity in the medium and long term, because when you can transport goods and shipments more efficiently, then things don't rot back at home. They are transported more efficiently and they are eventually taken to final destination. So it's a productivity improvement that will come for the longer term. One caveat, it needs to be structured in an efficient way and in a transparent way as well. How it's funded, whether it's a combination of grants or loans, what those loans are about, what the guaranteed revenue is in the medium term. All of that has to be on the table, and it needs to be efficiently put together.
Is that on the table when the IMF meets with Pakistan and you put together your review documents? Do you find that you have a clear picture of the outflows and inflows associated and the financing associated with these projects?
When we operate under a program, yes. When we are not under program, which is going to be the case from now on, we do the bilateral review of the economy, and we access anything that contributes to the macroeconomic framework. It doesn't mean to say that we review in details the contracts and the undertakings between the Chinese authorities and the Pakistani authorities. Certainly there is a budget integrity that we look at to make sure that everything that is public spending is actually delivered in the numbers that we're given.
Chiristine, thanks very much for this interview.
My pleasure.
Welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you so much.
This was Chiristine Lagards, Managing Director of the IMF, on a whirlwind tour of Pakistan, saying the country faces a moment of opportunity, but there is still much work left to do. This is Hussain with a Dawn News special.